Welcome to Work It, Live It, Own It, where we trade survival mode for strategies that help you thrive in career, life, and everything in between. I'm your hostess, work-life harmony strategist, Sokola Lair. Hi there, and welcome back to part 4. If you've been following this series, the Suck It Up, Go It Alone series, then you know we've already unpacked the fear of confrontation, misguided optimism. These are two subtle, very subtle ways that drain our energy. But today we're going to go even deeper into a habit that many of us don't even recognize as harmful, and that is persistent availability. You know, that belief that you always have to be on for everyone else. And if you don't, then you feel some type of way about yourself. You start to think negatively about yourself. And here's what I mean. In our modern day with technology, we've got emails, we got group texts, instant messaging. We have the Slack pings at work or the Google pings, the Gmail pings. We have family calls. We have constant meetings. We have notifications on devices that never stop. And when your body is tired, your brain stays wired. But here's the truth, that constant responsiveness, it didn't just start in adulthood. Believe it or not, for most of us, it was actually deeply rooted in our past, maybe even in our childhood. And so for many of us, even women, especially those who grew up feeling responsible for keeping the peace or earning love, being needed became an identity. And what I mean by that is maybe you learned early on that your value came from being helpful, accommodating, or dependable. Maybe you were the child who smoothed over tension by making other people laugh or making other people feel good about themselves because you anticipated everyone else's needs or you tried to fix things before they fell apart. And that survival strategy served you. It served you well when you were a child, but now it's become emotionally draining. It's draining your emotional battery as an adult. And so when we're constantly available, what we're really saying in reality is that if I'm not available, I'm not valuable. And it used to break my heart when I would hear a former colleague of mine say, but I love to feel needed. I need to feel needed. And let me tell you, that's not true. If you're not available, it doesn't mean you're not valuable. Your worth isn't tied to how quickly you respond or how much you give or how many fires you put out. It's not tied to that. Let's talk about the drain. Why is it draining to always be on? That persistent availability. You know what it looks like. Even though some of us may be in denial, we know what it looks like. It looks like checking our emails at midnight or even before we brush our teeth. You're taking calls during a family dinner because, it will only take a minute. You're feeling anxious or guilty if you don't reply to a message right away. And every quick response you make chips away at your peace of mind because your nervous system is never getting a break. It's constantly in alert mode. And over time, that stress builds up as irritability, fatigue, and even resentment toward the very people you're trying to care for and love. And so why is constantly being on always draining? When we take a deep dive into it, I want you to think about your energy being split between too many things. At work, you might look like you're trying to prove you're dependable by always saying yes. At home, it may look like you're trying to be the emotional glue for everyone, your parents, your spouse, your partner, your kids. It's emotionally exhausting. You're in a constant state of hypervigilance, waiting for that next call, that ping, or that problem. We start to become addicted to chaos. It's not the commitment, it's burnout disguised as dedication. So for those who say, oh, no, I'm truly committed, I'm always there, I'm always on for my family. Okay, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But just understand when you're not allowing your nervous system to take a break, that is your dedication. What we may label as dedication is also burnout in disguise. And we also have to realize that sometimes being available also comes from old wounds because sometimes always being on is really a traumatic response. It's a trauma response. So if you grew up in a home where love had to be earned or peace depended on your behavior, your brain learned to stay alert. That hyper awareness carried into adulthood and is now showing up as over responsibility, over dependability. But can you unlearn it? Of course you can. It's going to take work. And I love working with people, particularly women who are ready to roll up their sleeves and get to work. And it takes brave action, but it means giving yourself permission to power down. So I want to break this down into 4 steps. I want to give you 4 steps to help you reclaim your energy. So let's bring this home with some practical strategies that you can use today. The first thing I want you to do is set a tech boundary, a technology boundary. I want you to turn off notifications outside of work hours. I want you to create no phone zones in your home, whereas during dinner, at rest time, or your personal time, no phones. I love it when a coworker told me that they would do family night or family movie night, and her son called her out for being on her phone shopping on Amazon. Really, mom? You're shopping on Amazon while we're having family movie night? Love it. No phone zones. Be able to communicate your availability. So at work, I check my emails 3 times a day and I will respond during those times. Outside of those times, I don't respond. At home, I am off my phone for the next hour so I can recharge. Or a lot of times if I'm upstairs and I'm in having a conversation with my husband or we're watching a show, my phone is downstairs. So I've even had my dad call me or someone call me and say, "Hey, I called you. You didn't call me back." No, I wasn't by my phone. And over time, they get used to it. People who call you, they'll get used to it. Even in my real estate business, I tell people clearly on my voice messaging, I clearly stated in buyer consultations, hey, you can call me or text me. Up until this point, I will respond. So at 6:30 p.m., that's when I cut off time. After that, that is family time. I will respond back to your messages or text, whatever it is, the next business day after 8:30 a.m. the following business day. So you have to create and communicate your availability clearly. Also create micro breaks to reset. You can do 5 minutes of deep breathing, stretching, or quiet reflection can calm your nervous system and restore your focus. What I've really started to implement in my life is when I get home from work, I take 30 minutes just to sit, just to be before I start prepping or preparing my meal for the evening. Or if I'm doing chores around the house, I will take a 15-minute break. I will sit down and I will recharge before I do the next task. So create some micro breaks to reset yourself. And also, finally, remind yourself of this truth. Remind yourself that you are allowed to rest. And you are also allowed to be unavailable. That is the reality, guys. The world will keep spinning and people will respect you if they understand where you're coming from. So let's just recap what those are again. I want you to set some technology boundaries. I want you to be able to communicate your availability, create some micro breaks in your day, and remind yourself of this truth that you are allowed to rest. You are allowed to not be available. And again, the people who love and respect you will understand. So, persistent availability, guys, is a silent burnout trap that I want you to be aware of, particularly in our generation. But here's the good news. You can reclaim your time, your energy, and your peace without losing your impact. And when you stop actually running on empty and start setting boundaries, you don't become less reliable. You become more powerful. So take this as a reminder. You don't have to earn your worth by always being on. If today's episode resonated with you and you're ready to learn more practical strategies for breaking free from burnout, be sure to grab my free Prone to Power worksheet. It is your personal guide, my gift to you for building resilience, protecting your energy, and thriving in work and life. You can download it at the link in my bio on Instagram at Work It, Live It, Own It, or you can simply click it in the show notes. And if you'd love to talk one-on-one, schedule a virtual coffee or tea chat with me, you can head on over to sokolalair.com/let's chat. So let's unpack what's thriving in your life and get you out of survival mode. All right, that wraps it up for this episode. Continue to work it, live it, own it in your everyday lives, guys. See you in 2 weeks for the final part of the Suck It Up, Go It Alone series. Take care.